October. The month of spooky festivities, ADHD awareness, National Applejack Month, and according to National Day Calendar, a month to raise awareness for literally anything that exists. But what better a time than now to take a look into the lunatics and goofy gits in horror movies and video games. If something doesn't scare you, it's only worth trying to heighten your senses and trying to make you feel scared. Namely, we'd like to take a look at the subject of Torture Star's new release, Bloodwash. It's a Giallo-inspired survival horror game with low-poly, PS1 style graphics, which for those of you who don't know, refer specifically to Italian mysteries, fiction, and thrillers, most of which were based off of novels. It's the Italian word for yellow because the books often had yellow covers and were popular in Italy. The latter refers to a classification of the number of polygons used to render 3D models in video game engines. Developed by Jordan King, published by Torture Star Video, and released on September the 16th, the minds behind some of the scariest games we all know and love innovate something so blood-curdling, so macabre, so sickeningly horrific you might never look at doing your laundry the same again. The game begins with a college student named Sarah picking up her dirty clothes in her apartment and going downstairs to wash her laundry for an upcoming meeting. To her surprise, the washer is broken and doesn't have a chance to clean her dirty clothes. While returning back to her apartment, she runs into her neighbor, Stan, and they both have a chat. He starts talking about the problems with her child and her boyfriend. After the baby conversation calmed down, he then recommends her a laundromat outside of the city that's open 24/7, but also tells her that it's not a good idea to go out that late because of the maniac running around. Now known as the Womb Ripper, Sarah thanks him and returns to her apartment, grabs her purse, and goes to the bus stop. On the bus, she encounters a creepy guy. She turns out the window to see that it's pitch black outside. When she turns back, she sees a creepy man who asks her if he can sit next to her, which she finds odd considering there's nobody else on the bus besides them two. The conversation quickly turns more unsettling when he starts telling her that she and the child she's carrying are going to die, at how she knows that she's pregnant. To her luck, she doesn't have to listen to him anymore as the bus arrives at her stop and she quickly gets off the bus and walks towards the laundromat. Sarah enters the laundromat, gets spare change, and puts her dirty laundry into the washing machine. To pass the time, she browses the laundromat, reads comics, and watches TV. Sarah walks outside and checks each store and talks with the employees. She finds an old photo of a couple and asks people about them, about an old laundromat that was destroyed in the fire, and that people in the photo are Lewis Kennedy and Samantha Rhodes. Samantha lost her life in the accident apparently, and some say that she went missing, and some speculate that had been locked in her office. Sarah returns to the laundromat, and things start getting weird when the phone rings. Then she answers it and hears somebody screaming. She finds an unseen creepy person behind the bathroom stall, and mannequins appear out of nowhere, and then she brushes it all off. After some time, Sarah goes to pick up her laundry from the dryer, only to find her clothes are still wet. When she goes back to the front desk to complain but doesn't find anybody, she enters the office, and to her shock, she finds the corpse of the worker. However, before this, she witnesses the murder of Patron, committed by the Womb Ripper. She calls 911, but before she can finish the sentence, the call cuts off. Too scared, Sarah decides to stay in the office. 20 minutes later, a police officer, Burton, arrives at the laundromat, but is unable to enter because it's locked. He further explores the area and enters the income tax department after hearing screams and cries coming from there. While exploring the place, he stumbles across what appears to be a naked person holding a bloody fetus. The person then disappears, and the whole place goes dark. Burton further explores the place and finds a worker, but before he can help, the worker is killed by the killer. Burton retreats and enters into the vents, and while crawling through the vents, spikes suddenly start piercing through the vents. Burton manages to get to the end, but the killer appears and kills him. In what seems like another video game entirely, Sarah gathers her courage and gets out of the office and witnesses the killer murdering a patron. Unable to get out, Sarah explores the place looking for exit and finds a secret door that leads to the old laundromat. Sarah enters the desolate place and explores it. While exploring, she reaches part of the place with lots of candles lying around and lots of corpses and ripped faces. After reading a letter that was left by one victim, Sarah cuts open the corpse and retrieves a key that she uses to unlock a door. To her surprise, as she also finds the corpse of Lewis Kennedy. Sarah finds a gun and goes after the Womb Ripper. The two brawl, and after a long fight, Womb Ripper drops dead on the floor. It's revealed that the killer is actually Samantha, who survived the fire but suffered burns and lost her child after Lewis locked her in the office. Snapped, killing Lewis, and went on a murder spree, killing pregnant women. The credits start rolling, and abruptly, sometime later in the morgue, an autopsy is being performed on Samantha's corpse. The power suddenly goes out, and a guy named Doug goes to restore the power. After turning it back on, Doug returns and to his shock finds Samantha's corpse gone. But before he leaves the place, Samantha appears and kills him. The game ends. The revelation behind this story is expressly told in the epilogue of the game by Sarah, stating that Samantha had snapped at some point when she was locked in Lewis's old laundromat right next to the new one, and started taking children she didn't have from other people, despite the fact that if she were to willingly adopt them, we don't know how much child support money she'd have to foot herself. It seems like either body parts from her victims or their children were put into the washing machines of the old laundromat, although I don't think blood and gore are the best types of detergent. The laundromat itself is so eerily extensive and in negligible condition to the point where I don't know why there wasn't an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the fire, but knowing the incompetence of the cops in this town, I wouldn't be surprised if they did so. I swear to God, fucking Clancy Wiggum from The Simpsons could look like RoboCop put alongside Officer Burton. What a sorry excuse for a cop. Every time he's given the opportunity, no matter how hard the player tries, he doesn't shoot, and when he's point blank from Samantha, he gets slaughtered. If a pregnant college kid can fatally shoot a naked maniac who's presumably on Flocka better than you, a trained police officer can. Resign. What a sorry excuse for a cop. Speaking of lackluster job performance, can we talk about how Doug negligently took his eyes off a killer who's known to have inhuman levels of finesse? I don't know, maybe I should cut him some slack because Samantha might be one of those killers that's impervious to literally every attack thrown at her and gets resurrected every time she dies, like a perpetual It Follows creature. And while all that was happening, she still was wearing the cut-out baby face mask. Wow. And you thought Leatherface was a lunatic. Eat your heart out, Ed Gein. Cry about it, Albert Fish. Suck it, Danny Rawling. The wannabe mother is gonna perform the most discordant and unqualified C-section ever. She'll be a great addition to my precipitously growing lists of quacks in the pond. Post in the comments if you want a video on what could be mentally wrong with her, like the psychiatric evaluation of the driller killer. Those videos are really fun to make. Folks, the morals of the story here are simple. If your significant other locks you in their business and tries to kill you by burning it down and you're pregnant, try to get yourself out of that relationship by quitting that job and slowly distance yourself from that person. Stop, drop, and roll, get away from the fire, and get to any outdoor exit you can. Under no circumstances start killing pregnant people and start wearing the faces of their cutout fetuses because your mental health takes a toll. Don't be stupid. It just wouldn't be smart of you. If you're a young college kid with a lazy, apathetic, trashy significant other and are struggling with finances, for fuck's sake, do your laundry during the daytime, even if you don't think you'll need something to dress in anytime soon, because you never know what sort of wackaloons might be roaming around in plazas at night. Trust me, I'm Floridian. If you're a cop and are faced with a violent killer that could pop out at any minute, take at least one other cop with you, if you even have a semblance of doubt in your mind. Don't hesitate to shoot if you know your killer is in front of you. They probably won't die anyway. If you work in autopsies, never take your eyes off the cadaver. Now, I hope that you've at least heeded my lecture and learned from this game. If you haven't played it, I encourage you to, especially if you're looking for something creepy and fun in October. Wash well, and without blood. Happy Halloween.